I want to remind you of this, boundaries speak love. So Evan, you had a great story of using your dad voice. What I love about that is what you said basically was you put up a boundary and said, no, you're not doing that. Oh sorry honey, I got very excited to start, okay. What I find way too often happens in the church world is we don't want to come across too strong, so we don't put up boundaries. I think that's a mistake. And people say, well, we're not school, or I'm not their parent. I don't care. Boundaries speak love to kids, and that is what we really want to think about. And boundaries also can create an environment where they can hear and learn and grow. And so boundaries are so important. So for Evan, using his man voice, not your man voice, you are a man, I'm sorry, using your dad voice, like, no. And I have to do that where I just pull out, I have the mom look. I've had the mom look since probably, I started babysitting when I was age 7, don't ask. I was always one of those overly responsible children, but I had the mom look early, and I can still do it. Like, I could scare some of you. Luis gets scared sometimes. Like, I'm like, look, he keeps moving further back in the pews because he's like, ah. But what we're doing is we're putting up boundaries. So I told you about Emily who lost her parents. That, a month later I go pick her up. Grandpa's giving her a wad of cash, right? We're driving up towards past Coeur d'Alene, like Sandpoint, Idaho. And she is being a pain in the rear in the car. Disrespectful, mouthy, just out of control rude. And I am, you're driving, and usually I just don't let that happen because I'm like, nip that in the bud quick. And I'm like, okay, so I'm driving. There's 2 other girls in the car, and they're kind of like a little uncomfortable, but they don't, what do you do? And so she's just giving me sass, talking back, rude, and I'm like, her parents just died. And then pretty soon I was like, forget it. And I pulled the car over, and I turned around and I said, Emily, I love you. And you had a horrible thing happen. And nothing like that should ever happen to anyone. And I'm so sorry. But you do not get to treat me like that. That is not appropriate, and you will not be disrespectful for me anymore. And she looked at me, and it was like the biggest relief in the world. And she went, okay. I didn't have a problem again. Not a problem again. And it was like she was desperate for someone to love her enough to say no, too far. Because all her grandparents had done was give her cash. All that the people in the church had done was buy clothes for her. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm saying nobody loved her enough to say you can't do that. And I didn't have a problem with her the rest of the time. In fact, she went from being this obnoxious, rude to she just wanted a hug. She wanted a hug, she wanted to sit by me, she felt safe. So I always think of that when I'm worried, like, oh, am I gonna push them away? No, it speaks love. What it also does is it creates a safe place for everyone. If you don't have boundaries and you adjust for that one kid, those other kids don't feel safe. So if that one kid can get away with stuff, the other kids may not feel safe. And I never want to be so concerned with being inclusive that I actually end up being, I ignore a whole set of kids. So boundaries speak love, saying things like, here's our expectation and sticking to it. And I'm telling you, I had all 24 kids. This was 2 days ago. They're sitting there looking at me eating cheese sticks. And I'm like, this is a privilege. I will call and your caregiver will come. Oh, my grandma works at Dollar General. She can't get off. I'm like, she'll get off. I'll get her here. It's down the road. You can walk. It's fine. Because I'm going, here's the expectation. Well, I'd have a problem. Do I think I'm going to have to send one of these kids home? Yeah, it's going to happen. And you know what? It probably won't happen after that, though. Because they know, oh, she's serious. Here's the boundary line. So, boundaries speak love. Remind yourself of that. Be firm and be fair. I'm big on being fair. I think because I was such a kid who didn't feel like life was fair. Part of that, again, is a personality. I'm an Enneagram 8. It always feels like everyone's against me and that the rules are hard and nothing is fair. But if you're going to have an expectation, be fair about it. Okay? So be reasonable about it. Does that make sense? Sometimes we also do those situational rules where, a kid, has bubble gum and they blow a big bubble. You're like, oh, that's right, you can't have gum in here. And it's like, well, that's not a rule. Doesn't really matter, and that's not very fair. So I try to be fair as much as I can be. I also will look at them and say, sometimes life isn't fair, and this is how you grow as a person. Because I'm sorry I'm not here to make you happy the whole time either. But be firm. The firm is really important. And again, Evan, I'm using you. I love that you use the dad voice. We have to be willing to be firm. And these kids know. They know I love them, and I'll sit and play games with them, and we'll read books together. They also know if they're sent out to Miss Mel, my office is in the hallway, there's 2 naughty chairs. They know if they actually come out there, we're not gonna be having fun. And a lot of times, little Austin came out. He's this tall, he's 5. He was a preemie. I think he's still a preemie child. Comes out, well, Jeff, I said, and he did that to me. I'm like, I'm not speaking to you. You're gonna sit in that chair for 2 minutes. I don't wanna hear anything. Well, no, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. So you might as well just hold your breath. Not hold your breath, that's a good way for them to pass it. You might as well just hold your words in. Because I'm not, and he sat there for 2 minutes. I'm like, okay, now you can tell me. Well, it was William's fault. I'm sure it was. That's not the point. But it's being firm and then being fair. Another little girl, Mackenzie, came out. I don't want to do my sight words. Nobody else has sight words. I hate sight words. I hate everything. Well, you're going to do your sight words. So we have a couple of options. You can do your sight words for 5 minutes, and then maybe we could play Uno. Or you can continue to have a bad attitude about it, and it's going to take 10, 15, 20 minutes, and we won't have time to play a game. Either way, you're doing your sight words. Guess what she chose? We played Uno, and she beat me. Not happy about it, but she beat me. So you want to be firm. Next thing is this. This is the last little subject that I want to talk about. Help them have a win. Okay, help them have a win. That's what, okay, fidget toys. We talked a little bit about that. Have some fidget toys available. I got tired of watching one little girl chew on her shoelace week after week. I did. Finally, I was like, here, this is your specific chew toy. I don't think you're supposed to call them chew toys, but still, this is your specific thing. This is for you. You know, here's the Ziploc, we're putting it in because it's gross. You know, we have fidget toys. I have rules about fidget toys. We don't do the spinners. There's certain things, and boy, if it launches through the air, guess what? You don't get to have it anymore. But they do so much better. Why am I going to get hung up on the fact that I don't like to have a fidget toy when they're going to do better with it? We also at our church, you walk into a service, we're having services, and you'll see on the sound booth in the back, we have kid-sized noise-canceling headphones. They're disinfected every time, but kids walk in, and our kids who have sensory issues, where things are too loud, they walk in, they grab their headphones and put them on. And it changes everything. They used to run out, or they would kind of get crazy. Now they put their headphones on, they're fine. We have that for VBS, we have that for everything. We stopped trying to, like, should we turn the volume down? Well, no, that doesn't work for everyone, so they wear their noise canceling. We bought them off Amazon. This is not like we went to a special store, Amazon, and the kids know that they're there. It works amazing. And you know what this does to parents as well? Say, hey, mom and dad, we see you. Your kids are important to us. You're important to us. We're so glad you're here. Let us help you. That doesn't mean we're gonna have a special class right now, but they can put headphones on. And here's an activity sheet they can grab if they need it. And here's the cars that you can drive around the pastor. He doesn't mind. Help them win with letting them move. I talked a little bit about this, but kids are meant to move. Kids with special needs especially need to move. So we create time in our schedule for movement. Like if I'm gonna have a schedule, which I'm not great with schedules, but we move. Our little program we did on Wednesday night, after I got my blue collar people all ready to go, we'd have this, we'd have our opening time, and I'd look in the eyes of some of these kids, and there was one grade group in particular that, have you ever looked in the kid and thought, surely the devil is inside that one right there? And you just look and you're like, yikes. And so we have where they come out, and I have them run. We have a big rock in the parking lot. I'm like, do you see the big rock? Yep, go get it. And they all run. And you're kind of, well, what do you do? Why run in the parking lot? It's fine, okay. They run to the parking lot, or run to the rock, come back, and I look them in the eye. If I still see the maniacal, the devil's living, they run it back again. There's no problem with that. And you know what? It works. I do this all the time where I'm speaking. When I speak at camp, I have 45 minutes, 200 kids. And I'm telling you, some of these high school and college students are not great at helping me. And so I have to keep control. So sometimes I'll be talking and I'll look and go, you know what? I might be on a roll, you guys. I might be in point 2, and it is the best part of my message. But they're not listening. And I go, looks like you guys need to move. Stand up, 10 jumping jacks. Not jumping jacks. Jumping jacks. Woo! I need coffee. You know, okay, go. And they'll do 10. And then I look at him like, looks like you need a few more. Go. What I'm doing is letting them move. They need to move. Sometimes I'll say, stand up, we're gonna run in place for 30 seconds. Turn around, sit down. As soon as you let them move, they listen. Their attention span starts all over again. It's beautiful. Sometimes I'll do this, I'll be talking, I'll say, show me on your face what you would feel like if you came face to face with a lion in a pit. And you know what? They do it with their face. That's great for the age you guys work with. Guess what? I have their attention again. Sometimes I'll go, do you think that was a thumbs up decision or a thumbs down? All it is creating movement, and guess what? They're engaging with me. They're listening to me. I didn't think they were listening, but they are. And you're making them move, and you're letting them move. So I've learned to stop. I was wasting so much time, and I mean wasting, asking them to sit still when they just needed to move. Sit still, sit still. Crisscross elbows, hands to yourself. And I'm like, 10 jumping jacks, go. Oh, they're perfect for 5 minutes, and you have to do more, but it's okay. And sometimes we do jumping jacks like every 5 minutes, and it's not a big deal. It feels chaotic as an adult. For kids, it's the best camp experience I've ever had. I love it here. Great, whatever works. Let them move. Sorry there. Okay, prepare them for what's next. This is a big one. Kids like to know what's happening next. Especially kids that have some sort of special needs or behavioral issue, or even the younger ones. There's a fear that comes with not knowing what's going next. If kids have any sort of trauma, it's really important for them to know what's coming. They want to know. And you might think, well, trauma means they were abandoned, or trauma means this happened. Trauma can just mean a pandemic hit, and they were pulled out of school and never got to go back. And so what you need to do is go, hey guys, in 5 minutes, we're gonna do this. I do this with our after school. I go to each room and go, hey, in 5 minutes, we're gonna meet downstairs. So start thinking about wrapping your stuff up. I'm not doing that for the teachers in the room. I'm doing it for the kids. And it helps them so much if they know what's happening next. There's a line. You have some kids that if you give them a schedule, they're like, well, what's next? And when is it? And why can't we? And then that's when you just take those schedules away, okay? They don't need it, but give them a warning ahead of time. Does that make sense? Cool. Help them win, give them a buddy. So we have Jackson, who comes to our after-school program. Jackson is 9 and has oppositional defiance disorder, ADHD, and ADD, and all sorts of other acronyms. And so we spent the first few weeks going, this is a little challenging. So we had one teacher in the room, and people that kind of rotated in and out, so we're safe, but Jackson wasn't getting anything of it. Guess what I did the last 3 weeks? We have a buddy for Jackson, specifically just for Jackson. Would be what you would call maybe a para out of school or something, but somebody who goes with Jackson and they hang out. At our VBS, every single year, I specifically recruit people to be buddies. I recruit 7th grade boys to be buddies for my preschool boys because they are so good at it. And 7th grade boys kind of still want to be in VBS, but they would never say it. But they take it so seriously. And nobody can chase after a 4-year-old faster than a 7th grade boy. And they are worn out, the 4-year-old's worn out, all the moms and dads are happy. And so I always make sure they have a buddy. We specifically recruit people to be buddies. Because I was like, and I also, my volunteers like their jobs better because they don't have to take care of everyone. They have their group and then someone's one-on-one over here. Does that make sense? Does that feel overwhelming? Okay, it's not, I know it might feel like, oh, I still have a lot of extra people. It's really not. And when you recruit someone and say, here's specifically what you're gonna be doing. So Jackson's regular buddy couldn't be there this week, so we brought in a special buddy, and I connected the two of them by text, and the regular buddy told the new buddy, here's what he needs. And guess what? I stepped out of that text message. I don't need to know, I'm just leading the thing. I'm not in the room. And so they're equipping each other. But provide them with a buddy. Let them have somebody who will work with them. It works so great. Last thing I'll give you is that chill out room. We do this at our Vacation Bible School. Again, a lot of special needs kids. If they're in school, a lot of them already know, like I have, like, and kids are so open. They're like, oh, like kid told me on Wednesday, yes, I'm going to counseling because they believe I may be autistic. I don't think I'm autistic. I think I'm just gifted, but I might be, and you're like, adults don't share that much. You know, like, I would never come and tell you, I'm going to counseling, I might be autistic. He's like, oh, they're really open. A lot of them will say it's too loud or it's too much or I need a break. So we started this 7 years ago, I think, where we have a chill out room. And it is a place specifically for kids who need to take a break. And we have somebody in there who runs that room, and their whole job is to get that kid re-engaged back with their group when they're ready. It's not to have a whole special lesson, and it's not a naughty room. It's a I need a break room. And we have kids who have high functioning autism, kids who, like, I love the kids that come in, they're like, I did not take my meds this morning, so it's gonna be rough today. I kind of love it. All the kids are like, okay, but I'm like, point taken. And then I'll say, okay, so if you need the chill out room, you let us know. And they'll do it. I'm gonna need to go chill out for a few. Okay, there you go. So what you're doing is you're giving them a win. The other thing, you guys, sometimes we try to work around these kids, and what we just need to do is realize we're family. We're in this together. And I have stopped trying to be secretive about it. I have Aiden, he's in my husband's small group and youth group now. Hilarious kid, adopted out of foster care, major medication, lots of special needs. And he would come and be like, I didn't take my meds, my mom forgot. So I'm feeling a little crazy today. And I'd be like, okay, do you want to let everyone know? Yeah, and he would tell everyone, okay, and I'll say, okay, so guys, that means today Aiden is gonna probably need to move more. And so that's okay. So if Aiden's moving, not a problem. We're gonna still focus where we need to focus. And then I would give Aiden a carpet square and go, Aiden, here's your carpet square. You can move as much as you want as long as you're on the carpet square. Of course, Aiden found a way to move the carpet square as he was on it, but that's fine. It's like a magic carpet. How'd you get over there? But it was like, we're just gonna admit. And I'll say, guys, have you ever had a bad day? Have you sometimes ever felt like your brain is going so fast you might come out of your body? We all have days sometimes. So we're family and we're in this together. It's a beautiful thing instead of going, oh, you need to be separated or you're distracting us. Kids are used to distractions. Usually the kid with special needs or behavior is not distracting everyone, they're distracting you. And that's where you have to go back and go, what is my issue here? Is it really because I'm worried about other kids, or is it because I just am thrown off? And is it because I didn't prepare until at the stoplight on the way here this morning, so I don't really know what I'm doing? You know, like, ugh. So the idea though is to like get them back into it. So expectations are huge, being firm. Women, I'm here to tell you, there is something about men, and I think it is the dad voice sometimes, I think it is the presence. The more men you can recruit, you will see behavior change. It's just, it is what it is. This is not a feminist, whatever thing, this is just fact of the matter. Kids respond so well to men, especially boys to men. That's a song, that's a group, but they respond so well. So don't feel like, well, why? Because like Luis will come in, Mr. Lou will come into the after school program, and he'll do like, okay, we're gonna do PE, and they'll do like arm circles, and they listen to him like God himself has walked in the room. And they have been running around eating paint when I've been talking, and then Mr. Lou comes in, and I kind of want to get a little mad at him. What kind of magical dust are you sprinkling around? It's a presence thing. So don't get too hung up on that. Ask me questions. Any questions on this?
What about in like limited spacing? Like we do circle time and it's on we just have this one area road. And there's one kid that likes to move a lot, but he's gonna like kick or hit somebody, not intentionally.
Yeah.
So I'm like wondering if there's something, a different spot I can add or maybe expect it somehow.
I would make his spot bigger. I would expand his territory. Like I would, you know, if there's a circle spot and they all supposed to sit on a circle or whatever, you know, like I would give him 2 circles. Or you might even say like, so-and-so just needs to move. So while we're doing our circle time, he's gonna be walking around and listening and stuff like that. So I would create just a little more space for them. And I find too, a lot of kids, it doesn't really bother them if the kid is sitting next to them. They don't wanna be hit or kicked. But usually it doesn't really bother them as much as we're kind of like, yeah, the kid's so annoying. I'm so glad he's not by me. But yeah, I would give him more room as much as you can. Yeah, great question. Other questions? If you're on Zoom right now, that's a whole different ball game and you only have so much control. Get ready as you begin to incorporate back really soon, maybe into actual in-person. you're gonna have to be pretty upfront and firm from the beginning. We're so glad you're back. Hey guys, we haven't been here in a long time. Here's some of our expectations. And just, we're glad you're here, here's what they are, and then stick to them. And I always say, like, when we, like school year, children's ministry, if I'm thinking, usually in September, I have to be pretty strict. But then I don't usually have to kick back in until after spring break. Because they get it, they understand it. Something happens on spring break, I don't know what these kids do, but they come back and you're like, yikes. And so then I have to kind of be pretty firm again. Okay, you good? Is that helpful? Right, this is the last one. I'm gonna go quick through this one, I promise. Curriculum. Oh, and do you need to pause or something? No, we're good, okay. All right, you have that. We gave you all the slides so you can take quick, easy notes, which was perfect, exactly what we needed. Let me pull up my notes. Okay, it's just entitled curriculum because I want to talk about it. I want to ask you this question though. Oh, Josh, can you switch over to the curriculum slides for me? All right, let me ask you this. What did 2020 teach you about your curriculum? Don't talk to each other, talk to me. What did it teach you about your curriculum? Good or bad?
Wasn't designed for Zoom.
Wasn't designed for Zoom. Yeah? What else? Did anyone find their curriculum just totally ineffective in 2020? Yeah. Not designed for Zoom, not designed for any sort of, even if you're doing online video lessons, probably not designed for that.
A lot of information or busyness in the curriculum, like that would take you kind of a long time to whittle down what it is that I'm going to focus on.
Yeah, so if you have some curriculum that's got pages and pages for 1 week and you're like, I got 20 minutes, maybe. And what's interesting is if you're in a room, you can kind of keep them busy over here while you do something here. You can't do that on Zoom. Or that's dead air on a YouTube video. Like, go do that. So you gotta really think through that, okay? Anything else? Okay. Let me ask you this. What is something you know about Jesus now that you wish you had known as a child? I know that's a big question, and I'm going to ask you to answer right away. So I'm sorry that you don't get any time to think or process. What is something you know to be true about Jesus today that maybe you wish you had known as a kid?
Personal.
That is personal.
Just more personal.
Yeah. I wish I would have known that he wasn't mad at me. As a kid, I always felt like God was maybe just a little mad or disappointed in me. What else?
That I really can hear from him and not just talk to him.
Yeah, I can hear from him. Yep. One more. Hannah, I'm giving them an F. They're just, it's like being on a Zoom call where nobody talks. No, it's okay. I know I threw that at you. Anyone though? Anyone got a quick something?
Mine would be that he's like with me for every part of life. Like that he's not just gonna leave for the bad times, but he's walking through everything.
So he's with me all the time, doesn't leave when it's bad, walks through every bit of it. Love it. What I want to encourage you to do, God is a personal God. And if you are leading in children's ministry, whether you're a volunteer, you're an interim, you're an intern, whatever, God has given you a story, and that needs to incorporate as you think about what do I teach these kids? So, for instance, you're going, Kari, you're going to go, I want to talk a little bit about how God can hear, or I can hear from God. That is perfectly great thing to teach little ones. And you might not find the curriculum, like it might not be in a curriculum book, but start teaching it. and really believe that God has gifted you with your own story and your own journey on purpose for a reason. Rachel, we've talked about this. Rachel and I've done a lot of coaching this year. Talk about how he's a personal God. Is it Amy? Amy, talk about how God's with you all the time, even when it's hard, even when it's bad. He doesn't go anywhere. You never underestimate the importance of what the journey you've been on. If we had time, I would really want you to sit down and go, what do I know about God now that I wish I had learned early? Much of the ministry of what I teach kids has come out of, what do I wish I would have known as a kid? What did I learn as an adult that I wish I would have learned as a kid when my brain was still a little more soft? When I could have, I was like, why didn't I learn Spanish then? Why is it gotta be so hard now? One of those for me too is that, God, I can hear from God. I teach that to kids all the time. I do a whole boot camp on empowering kids to hear God's voice, to respond to God, because I fully believe that's important, and that's where those notes are written out of. So I want you to think about that as we go on that. Here's some facts about curriculum. Curriculum is only as good or bad as how it's being adapted. I talk to people all the time, we just have bad curriculum. You might guess as though it's not as bad as you are. And I mean that in a nice way. Sorry, that was harsh. Sorry. And I wouldn't say that to anyone here, but sometimes I'm like, are you adapting it? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, there's no perfect curriculum out there. And even if you go, I'm gonna write my own, it's still not gonna be perfect. And I don't encourage writing your own curriculum. Hear me say that. That is busy work that is unnecessary, I feel like, unless you have a massive team to do it. Because curriculum really should be a team effort with people from different learning styles all contributing. So I don't encourage writing your own curriculum. 30 years ago, sure, there was no good curriculum. There's a lot out there right now. So it's only as good or bad as how it's being adapted. Curriculum is a tool, it's not the outcome. Talk to people all the time, they tell me what curriculum to use. I just feel like we're just not getting where we need to be. It's meant to be a tool, it's not meant to give you everything. And that's where your leadership as a teacher, volunteer, whatever, that's where you come out. That you are meant to contribute to that as well. You tell your curriculum what to do, it doesn't tell you what to do. Can somebody just say amen? Okay, that was terrible. Thank you. Okay, you are supposed to tell the curriculum what to do. This is what hopefully you learned a little in 2020. Oh, I can't just do this the way it's written. It's not gonna work. You should never just do it the way it's written. You should always be looking at it and going, here's how I'm gonna incorporate this. Or we want to make sure the kids know this. It is meant for you to tell it what to do, not the other way around. Leadership means you look at it and go, I'm gonna tell it what to do. Not have it tell me. It does not run the show. You and the Holy Spirit run the show. I feel very strongly about this, like I'm using a big hand motions, okay? Very strongly. All right, no curriculum can take the place of relational discipleship. It just can't. There is no perfect curriculum that you're gonna go, okay, good, now they're gonna be fine. If I were to ask you, how many of you remember the curriculum that you went through as a child if you went to church? No. Right? Well, I think that it was, no, but how many of you remember one of your maybe Sunday school teachers? Yeah. Relational. And you might have been, even they might not have even felt like they were a good teacher, but you know what? You remember them. I had a real bad teacher in junior high. We did apologetics, and he literally did do omniscience and omnipresent, and it was so boring in the 7 years of tribulation. I don't even know what it was, but I remember him. I don't remember what he talked about. But relational discipleship is so important. So, a couple things. Your leadership. You have to evaluate yourself. What does that mean? Do you have a vision? Do you know why you're doing this? Where are you going? And that's what we talked about this morning. What do you want them to know? What do you want them to sink deep into their souls? That's your vision. Where are we going with this? Do you need to coordinate and think through the church's vision? Yeah. I don't think that's nearly as important as making sure you as a leader say, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going. Do you have a vision? Are you leading your volunteers? Here's the other thing that happens is, this happens all the time. I just recruited someone. They walk in and you give them, a 3-ring binder and go, okay, thanks, you're done in May. September. No training, no equipping. And I watched this happen at my home church. I'm not the children's pastor there. Watched it happen a number of years ago. Came in, they picked up a 3-ring binder, came back and said, never mind, we're not doing this. And they never volunteered for children's ministry again. Now, they have some issues, but also, who wants to do that? So are you equipping? Because the problem is, if curriculum is your issue, you have to first look at yourself. Am I leading it well? Am I leading my team well to implement this curriculum? If you're saying yes to all of that and it's still an issue, then it probably is a curriculum issue. But if you're not equipping your leaders and your team to actually own that curriculum, then it's probably a leadership issue. Does that make sense? I know that's harsh, and you're like, man, I need more something to get through the harshness right now. But that is just, be as blunt as possible. You've got to make sure you're leading. You also need to look at your context. Who are you? And I don't mean you personally. What's your church? Who are you? Are you a Chinese church? Are you downtown Portland? Are you in rural Oregon? Are you in a cornfield in Iowa? Yes. Where are you? Your context matters greatly when you're thinking through curriculum. And I don't mean the curriculum you choose, but how you adapt curriculum. It matters. So what is your context? Who are you? Where are you? Like I said, are you inner city or are you rural? What does your community need? If your church community has, excuse me, let's say they have a real heart for foster care. And so probably 30% of the kids who come to your children's ministry are coming from foster care. Do you think you should take that into consideration? Yeah. So you want to think through that. What all plays into this? What does your community need? All right, I'm going fast. Are you good though? Aren't you glad you have big slides to look at right now for your notes? See where it worked out? It's like for the visually impaired, I think is awesome. So you can see, this is a great way to end actually. Great curriculum. Great curriculum teaches solid theology. That's a hard word. Not just fun crafts. How many of you learned that about your curriculum in 2020? Like, this has a lot of fluff that is not gonna work. We waste a lot of time on doing all the extras without making sure our points and what we're teaching actually matters. I got no problems with, putting cotton balls on sheep, no problems. But again, like we said earlier, make sure it's pointing them to Jesus. Good curriculum makes Jesus the hero, not the teacher. Meaning it makes Jesus the hero of the story, not me as the teacher, the hero. And that's really important, because again, we don't want to make disciples out of ourselves. We want to make disciples out of Jesus. So it's all about Jesus. Is it pointing it back to him? That's what good curriculum does. Good curriculum also helps kids understand the gospel in their context. So this is what I mean. I don't want kids just to memorize scripture. I want them to be able to contextualize it. What does this mean for me? What does this mean for me? So if you teach Daniel in the lion's den, and I've seen people do this. So we're talking about a man who got thrown into a den, which is like a hole full of lions. How many of you have ever been thrown into a pit with lions? I mean, I've seen people do that, and I'm like, you're terrible. Like, that's never happened. We're not in Africa. We're not even by the zoo. So what you want to think through, though, is this helping the kids contextualize it? We gave up a long, long time ago on, we used to memorize a verse every day of VBS. And we switched to one verse for the whole week, and the kids knew exactly what it meant and how it applied to their life and what it meant personally to them. Does it help them understand the gospel in their context? How can they contextualize it for themselves? So when I go home, quick story, I leaving this one camp in Minnesota, and we had taught that God's plans for me are good. They don't always, remember what I said? Feel good. Driving home, I always give kids my card. They get a Miss Mel card. They have them like Pokemon trading cards. They're like, I have 3 years. I'm like, those cost money. I don't say that. But, so I'm driving away, and I get a phone call, and it's a kid from camp. And she goes, Miss Mel, I just got home. And my dad is in jail. And he was drinking and driving again, and my mom says he won't get to come home this time.
I didn't get that.
Oh.
You can try again.
No, thank you, Sarah. Sorry about that. That didn't happen in the story. And so she goes, is this one of those times that God's plans are good, but it doesn't feel very good? You know what she did? She contextualized that. And she went, oh, and you know what I did? Yes! Not out loud, because that would have been very unkind of her problem. But what I thought was, oh, thank you, Lord. She just took that home and applied it to her situation. And isn't that what we want them to do with the gospel? Man, take it home. Take it into your school, take it into your community. And it has to look different than it looks like for me, because I don't live there. I don't do that. So it helps them do that. Now I'm gonna give you what you all came for. I'm gonna give you a couple names of really good curriculum, okay? I made you sit through that because that's important.
That's exactly what
I know, you're like, that's what I wanna know. Okay, great curriculum. I really love the Gospel Project. This is by Lifeway. It's a good curriculum. There's no great curriculum that I've seen that is perfect all the time. Every single curriculum takes some adaptation. I really like the Gospel Project because it ties everything back to Jesus. They go through the entire Bible. Is it a bit tedious at times? Yes. Are there certain lessons that I would skip if I was leading? Yeah. But it's really good curriculum, and that's by Lifeway. I really like D6 curriculum. That's from Randall House. You can just look up D6 curriculum. D is for Deuteronomy 6. It's really a great kind of traditional, what we'd think of Sunday school, very biblically based. I have a lot of the writers are friends of mine. Like, they really work on it and really try. However, I've taught it sometimes and been like, this is the worst thing. Like, what were they thinking? This is gonna work with preschoolers? That happens with every curriculum. It's good curriculum. So those two I really like. Usually I would say True from David C. Cook, but they're no longer updating it and I think it's outdated. So it's not one that I would say run out and get. But those two are probably my two favorite right now. Gospel Light, not Gospel Light, Group has some really good ones out there as well. The Hands-On Bible is good, but again, it takes adaptation. And the curriculum that the Hands-On Bible goes with is all about hands-on, which is really hard when you're on Zoom, okay? So, but these two I think are pretty good, pretty solid. The other thing I will say this is when you just have these kids for a short amount of time and you say, we want them to know this, that God's plans for me aren't good, they don't always feel good. Sometimes you can go right through a whole Bible character and talk about that. And so you're not necessarily writing your own curriculum, but you're contextualizing it and going, here's how I learned that. And here's how Joseph learned that. And so sometimes when you just have a short amount of time, you might adapt a little and go, let me share personally how I know this to be true. Is that helpful? Okay, there's good curriculum out there, there's really bad curriculum too. But you know what? I don't see really much of a difference if you aren't leading it. I think even the best curriculum, if you're not leading it and looking through it, will be wrong. In fact, one of the best ones I've ever seen out there, we found total heresy in it because of a misprint, but like heresy. And I'm like, oh my word, oh my word. But you know what? Thank the Lord I had read it. And I was able to say, oh, hey guys, heresy. Circle the heresy, you know? And then some of this very worst curriculum. You know, the stuff you find in the back closet, flannel graph. I love flannel graph. I think flannel graph still works. You find it in the back, there's mold on it, and you know, the kids are from the 1980s, and you're like, that's terrible. You know what? If you take it and go, there's some good truth there, I can teach that. It can be great curriculum. But it's all about you as a leader and then how you're equipping other leaders to teach it. And that will change how your curriculum is used. Okay, questions on that? You guys are awesome. This was long. This was a long afternoon. Usually I throw food at you or something. I'm sorry. COVID has ruined that for us. Next time. My card is up here. Please feel free to shoot me an email or anything if you have any questions or if there's any way I can serve you. I Zoom in all the time for if you want to have a teacher's training or whatever that looks like. I offer webinars all the time. My heart has always been and will always be to come alongside you. And I mean it when I say I truly hope my legacy is watching you guys pass me. I hope I get to cheer as you just like keep going. I just, that is what I want. For you guys to just go, 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 and let me, let Hannah, let us just cheer you on as you go. and cry with you sometimes and pray with you and equip you, but I hope you just go further than we could ever go. So let me pray for you guys, and then Anna, you can look at us. Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for your love for us. Thank you for a beautiful day, and God, just what a privilege to gather together. Thank you for that reminder that we need community and that you are good. I pray a blessing over each one here and each one that watches this, Lord, that you would stir what needs to be stirred. God, I pray anything that was of you would stick and that we would run with it, and anything that was of me would be forgotten immediately. So may we seek and hear and do